While I worked for others, I never felt I was being paid what I was worth. I wanted to work for myself, but I didn't know where to start or how to transition from employee to an entrepreneur. This podcast is about giving you the courage to take action, to stop trading your time for money, trading your life for a job that doesn't fulfill you or pay you what you're worth. This podcast is about giving you the tools and courage to work for yourself. Hi, I'm Phil Delozano, an entrepreneur and success coach, and I'm paying it forward by helping others like yourself go from employee to entrepreneur. Anyone starting a business needs a mentor, a coach to navigate to success, someone to push you, mentor you, coach you, and give you the pep talks to get you going. This is your wake-up call. Time to be your own boss. We've got a great show for you today. Today we are interviewing entrepreneur Brett Behney. And Brett shares with us his story and gives some advice to those new and aspiring entrepreneurs. And Brett shares with us how even through adversity, he followed his dreams and kept on pushing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to this interview. I want to welcome Brett to the show. And for those of you that don't know who Brett is, I'm going to ask him to give us a summary of his life as far as who he is and what he's into and what he's involved. All in your hands, Brett.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Phil, for having me on. Really appreciate it. First of all, I am a real estate investor out here in Pinellas County, Florida. Flipped smartphones out here as well. I did that in Salt Lake City for about a year and a half as well. How to create their own businesses, flipping smartphones, called Phone Flipping Nation. Prior to that, I was driving Uber on unemployment, sold printers, went through the corporate life. I was a personal trainer, all that. And so that's where I'm at now, is at real estate investing out here in Pinellas County, Florida.
I gotcha. So you're doing real estate investing. And also, so you were saying something about flipping phones. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What's that all about?
Yeah. So when I was driving for Uber, I initially started that because I was coming off a pretty tough spell after having lost my sister, and I fell into this pit of depression basically, and I started driving Uber because I was so anti getting a job again. It just gave me so much anxiety having to think about doing that. So I was doing Uber for about a year while I was waiting to kind of find what I was going to be doing, and I stumbled across the idea of flipping smartphones. And basically what that is you post ads. I'm sure plenty of people here have seen those ads all over town. I buy houses cash. Well, we do basically the same thing with smartphones. We say, I buy phones cash. People message you. You find out what phone they have. You look up how much it's worth. You offer below it. Meet in some that the ones that do accept. You meet in coffee shops, pay them cash for their phones, come home, post them online on eBay mainly, resell for a profit, and then just keep on repeating that.
God, so that's an expanding business. It sounds like you've got your hands in a little bit of everything as far as entrepreneurship. You've done Uber. You're flipped phones. You're in real estate investing. So this show is for aspiring entrepreneurs and new entrepreneurs. When did you get your start as far as being an entrepreneur?
I'd have to say when I actually joined an MLM. I did Amway. It was in college. I was 24 when one of my classmates was doing it, and I went to one of those meetings, in the hotel rooms and stuff like that. Yeah, and I signed up for it. I didn't make any money at all in the first 2 years that I did it. In fact, I lost money, but I don't really consider it a loss because I went to some of those big events with those huge speakers and everything. And overall, financially, at the time, it was a very negative experience because I lost a lot of money. But for me, it was a very positive experience because it really introduced me to the world of entrepreneurship and introduced me to dreamers, the idea of having a mentor and whatnot. And it got me started, got me reading books and listening to podcasts, etc. And I continued that, not at the same pace over the next few years, but Amway was where I started. That was where it all began for me.
I got you. Did you always know that you were meant to work for yourself and not for somebody else?
I kind of did.
Yeah, most of
Yeah.
the
When I, was, yeah, you kind of just have this feeling like, that, like, yeah, you've got a job right now and you probably have one maybe for a couple of years, few years down the road, but you just have this feeling that that there's more out there and you're going to figure out what it is. You might just not know what it is right now, but as long as you're like, you can always, even if you don't know what business you're going to do in the future, you can always be working on mindset and listening to and trying to get around those types of people. And you can find your inspiration that way,
I got you. So what advice do you give new entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs who want to jump into working for themselves as opposed to working for somebody else?
Give yourself a chance to actually succeed with it. And the reason I say that is because with Amway, financially speaking, I lost a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Then I tried my personal training business. That was okay. And then I started a dog walking business and I hated that. I love dogs, but I hated picking up after them.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. And then I did Uber. And then finally, when I came onto flipping phones, it was working for me. And I actually once it was working for me for a few months, I actually fell back into an old paradigm, which for those of your listeners that don't know what a paradigm is, it's basically a collection of thoughts. And these can be good thoughts or bad thoughts or anything. Mm-hmm. This paradigm that I fell back into was all the previous failures of trying other businesses and it not working. And now I'm in one that is working and I'm like, oh, this is uncomfortable. This is succeeding. This is weird. So what I did for 2 months is I smoked weed and worked out and basically just didn't try to find any new business with flipping phones. And I did that for 2 straight months until I had only $400 to my name. And what happened after that, we can talk about later. But being successful with it was scary. And I had to actually overcome that paradigm by like literally telling myself, like, dude, give yourself a chance to actually make it in life. Like, actually have something that's successful. You haven't had it before. This is, how to do this. This is good. So do it, because you know how to get it to work. And who cares if it's scary and it's weird and it sucks? It's like the alternative sucks way more, So for new entrepreneurs and honestly, anyone trying anything, give yourself a chance and be okay with it working, because that can scare a lot of people, something actually working, because we're so used to things just falling apart. And I was. And once I actually gave myself a chance for it to work and come together, it started working and it came together,
There you go. It's true. That is so true. Most people don't realize that failure or failing is part of success, falling on your face. And you've had many different experiences where you've tried things and the results weren't there for you, but you kept going. And most entrepreneurs don't want it now. They want that, pop it in the microwave. I want it 30 seconds later and I want to be an instant millionaire. And that's probably just not how things work nowadays. So you said that you're doing some real estate investing. What kind of real estate investing are you doing?
We're specializing in short sales mainly out here. That's basically helping homeowners who their home is going into foreclosure. We're in Pinellas County, Florida, is where we're focused in on. For the unfortunate homeowners who are going into foreclosure and they're at a point where they can no longer keep their house. Their credit is going to be completely destroyed. They'll never be able to get a car again. For the majority of these homeowners, what we're able to do is actually save them from foreclosure, get them maybe a little bit of money sometimes, and save their credit essentially. And it's a huge problem for people out here. And as entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur out there, you solve problems, and that's the problem we solve. And when you are solving problems, you bring value to people. So the value we bring is tremendous. So the payout is tremendous in exchange for that as well.
Right. I see. So if you don't mind us asking, how in turn do you make money in a transaction like that? If you're helping them with their short sale and you're giving them money back, how are you getting paid?
Well, we don't always give them money back. Essentially, so a lot of these properties have, code liens and judgments against them, either from the county, obviously, is the one that puts the code liens on them, and the bank, is foreclosing on the property. So a lot of these properties are really distressed that have, $150,000, $200,000 worth of code liens on them. Well, if the way it works is if the bank forecloses on the property, they inherit all of that debt. And if the house is worth $100,000 and, 80,000, because it's been, not well maintained for the past few years, and, and and the original person only paid 60,000 on their mortgage, out of the 100,000. So if the bank were to foreclose on it, they inherit all that debt. So essentially they're inheriting, $200,000 worth of code liens on a property that's worth only 100,000. So if we can come in there and buy it at a discounted rate, and, we can tell to the bank, hey, we'll give you, $20,000, $30,000 or whatever for it. And then we negotiate with the county to get those code liens down, and they're never going to see a penny of that 200,000 because the bank isn't going to foreclose and pay on it because they're not idiots. Right. The original homeowner is not going to pay those off. That's why it got so bad in the first place. But if we can negotiate them down and say, hey, we'll give you a couple grand, and we're a third party. We weren't the ones who let the property go to crap. And sometimes, it really depends on who you are negotiating with. But you can negotiate those code liens down with the county. You can negotiate a lower price with the bank because you're solving a problem for them because it's literally just sitting there rotting away, and you save the other person's credit. So, and you can negotiate it into the deal to, purchase some of the possessions in the house from the homeowner or get the bank to agree to a relocation fee, etc. You can't always end up with the person, getting money for it because they already got to live in their home that they weren't paying a mortgage on for years. So they already got paid on the front end of that. But we do try to get them something if we're able to negotiate that within the deal. And it's not legal for us to take a payout and then wire them money later on. So it has to be negotiated on the front end. The bank has to agree to that price for the homeowner.
All right, gotcha. But it sounds like what you're doing is kind of, I don't want to say complicated, but it's complicated. Sounds complicated. How would you advise a new entrepreneur to jump into real estate investing, or what do you advise the aspiring entrepreneur to maybe jump into the first time out, see if that's what they want to do?
Honestly, flip smartphones. It's really simple. It is extremely easy. I did $200,000 in gross revenue. That's not net. Gross sales my first 12 months. And that's what I have my course Phone Flipping Nation on, is teaching people how to do that. And a lot of those skills that I learned from flipping phones, I'm taking into real estate right now. Because real estate is a much longer game. It takes a while to actually get a deal, build up a pipeline. But honestly, with phones, once you learn the material, you can buy a phone that day because everyone has a phone. Some people have two, and everyone wants to upgrade. Not everyone has a house.
Right.
So,
this is true. So you said you offer a course. Tell us a little bit more about this course.
So it's Phone Flipping Nation. I released it in July of 2018. And I essentially took, all the experience from flipping that $200,000 worth of phones. I took all that and I put it into a series of videos. There's over 100, I think 110, 120 so videos. And I have it separated in a couple different tiers. Tier 1 is for the person that just wants to maybe make a little extra side hustle or is just starting out, is not trying to make a ton right away, or, like maybe an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. That's tier 1. If you're wanting to turn it into a real business at the level that I turned it into, that's tier 2, where it gets a little bit more complicated with some of the videos, and every person, if you want to be tier 1, tier 2, you've got to, go through tier 1 first, of course. And I have a Facebook group with all my members in there. And if you have any questions, you ask them in there. The majority of the time I'm the first to answer, but a lot of my members that are really educated now, some of them beat me to the punch, which is totally cool with me. And then I do weekly trainings, live on a conference call on using Zoom, which is like kind of a Skype type thing. And we just go over different trainings, and all the weekly trainings are recorded. So you get access to every weekly training we've done as well. So as the phone industry updates and everything else, the videos change, the trainings change. And, mindset is a big thing that I'm going to be adding to the course here in the near future as well, because it's such a huge part with anything you do. So.
Oh, absolutely agree. So if anybody in the audience wanted to get a hold of you and wanted to learn more about Flipping Phone Nation, I'm assuming that's the correct name. I didn't write it down, and I will. How do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. and everything on there I post is public. Send me a message. It goes to the filtered folders, but I check those. Or shoot me a friend request if I'm not at the max. It's Brett Behney, Brett, last name Behney. Or you can go to phoneflippingnation.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Brett Behney, and those are the main places that you can catch me at.
That is fantastic. So, what I'd like to do is I like to add value to people. And one of the ways is I'm going to promote what you're promoting. But are there any other ways, or what other ways are there that we can add value to you and what you're doing and what you're involved in?
Well, if you honestly want to add value to anyone that's willing to educate you and coach you, which is something I'm doing, then if you do decide to join Phone Flipping Nation, listen, do it, and apply the knowledge. In addition to right now on this podcast, if flipping phones is not something you want to do, then, I hope that you, some of what I've said today you can actually apply in your life and, message me or Phil, let us know how it impacted you and changed you and what you used to, move yourself forward. That's the way you add value to my life. If you let me know, hey, Brett, what you mentioned the other day was great, and I used it for this, and it improved me in this way. You add value just by saying that alone to me. So that's all I ask for, honestly.
That is fantastic to hear. I was just thinking, you said that it seems like you've been around the country for a little bit. You went to Utah, now you're in Florida. I think you're originally from someplace else. Where did you grow up, and what made you move?
So I grew up in Chicago, not far from you,
Okay.
Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And that was where I was born and raised. And so I was living still in the Chicagoland area, and I was selling printers at the time when I got the news. Well, backtrack real quick. My family, my dad's job took us out to Utah when I was 9 and 10 years old in 4th and 5th grade. And then after 2 years, it took us back. And then both my sisters, they were older. I'm the baby in the family. They kind of went back and forth between Utah and Chicago over the years. And then finally they both settled out there. So after college, when I was doing personal training, and then I got an inside sales job, and then I started selling printers, I received the news that my sister was on life support in Utah. And so I had to, we all went out there and, we said goodbye to her, and it was really, thank you. Really, really hard to deal with. And she had been asking me for years and years to move out to Utah, and I never wanted to. And she left behind a 3-year-old daughter, my niece. And when I had a private moment with her, and I promised her I'd go out there and be, a part of her daughter's life, my niece's life. And then, she passed away the next day. And so when I came home, within about 3 months, I moved out to Utah, and I lived there for a little over 3 years. And that's a part of, I actually fell into really deep depression after losing her. I didn't realize how hard it hit me. I got fired from 2 jobs. I was a bar back, and I was doing fundraisers for high school sports teams. And I got fired from both of those within 2 weeks of each other. And I had never been fired from a job in my life. I just couldn't get out of bed to do them. So, the bar back job, I actually think I got fired from that because I couldn't figure out the soda machine. But, yeah. I fell really hard into a deep depression at that point. I went on unemployment, and then, I started doing something. I did Uber just to get out of the house, and then I started the dog walking business out there. And what really got me out of it was getting my dog. And that's I could do a whole podcast on how amazing she is and what she did for me. But then flipping phones, I joined my mentorship group called the Kingdom Real Estate. And 2 months into that's when I joined them. And so they helped coach and mentor me and help me out with my mindset, to actually hit that $200,000 in gross revenue. And so I went to an event with them in April of 2018 out in Ocean Isle, North Carolina. And I remember that the first step outside, when I opened the door and I smelled the salt water, it was just this instant calming, relaxing feeling. And I was just instantly like, I need to live by the water. It was just instant. The thought was there before I could even actually audibly think it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so I talked to them about it, and I, 7 months later, I moved out here to St. Petersburg, Florida, and just wasn't happy in Utah anymore. But I was at the point where, I'm making enough money flipping phones. We've got airplanes. I can visit my niece then, and we've got, she's very proficient with her iPad and FaceTiming and everything. So I wanted to live somewhere that made me a lot happier. And St. Petersburg, Florida is the place. It's incredibly nice here. It's like 76 degrees right now on February 10th, and it's just weird. Oh. And I'm in a way better place, just being in a place where it's just so nice and amazing now. The people are awesome, and the whole place is super dog friendly. And I'm, at a point where I'm making way more money because I put myself in a much, much, much more positive environment. And, it's one step at a time. He asked just where did I move, but sorry to get into that too much, but there's a bit of story behind it. It was moving was not just, emotional in the sense of how hard it was, just like physically speaking, but it was emotional because there was so much attached to it. So, and improving my environment was one of the biggest things that I really needed to do in the recent months to get to the next level of where I needed to go. And that doesn't always mean for everyone to move 2,000 miles away. That could just be changing up your apartment or something. So
there you go. You know what? It's good to hear. Unfortunately, you had some unfortunate circumstances in your life, but in your own way, it sounded like you kept moving forward, which was good. And it eventually led you to the path that you're on right now. And that's what it's all about. That's what happens for most entrepreneurs. They may have gotten fired from a job. They may have X amount of money left. And they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And most people have this misconception that they have to have all this money in the bank and they've got to have all this money to launch a product and things like that. And no, you don't. You just have to have that desire to do it. And eventually you took that desire and you made it something. So kudos to you on that one.
Thank you.
Well, not a problem. Well, we appreciate you being on the show today. I hope you're enjoying the weather up here in Chicago. It is snowing again. And for those of you that don't know, we had record colds. We had wind chills to up to 50 below, which I suffered a frozen pipe in my complex. So it caused a lot. So am I envious of you? Yes, I am. Of course, here in Chicago, as you know, in the summertime, it could be 90, 100 degrees. So we do get all four seasons, and we do get to enjoy it. Unfortunately, there's only two seasons here in Chicago, winter and construction. And we're just going to leave it at that. So, but we greatly appreciate you being on the show. And I hope that my audience, if they have any questions, they'll definitely reach out to you. We greatly appreciate it. And we wish you a lot of luck in what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on today.
Oh, not a problem at all. Thank you, sir.
Wow. We want to thank Brett for spending some time with us and sharing his story. Obviously, for new entrepreneurs, if you're on the fence and you're thinking about getting going, flipping phones may be the route to go. Or whatever that passion is for you, you just have to get going. So it all starts with your mindset. And hopefully you've got some things from this show and listening to Brett. Of course, you can always find Brett on Facebook, which is Brett, B-R-E-T-T, Behney, B-E-H-N-E-Y. That's Brett Behney. And you can learn more about what he does and find out a little bit more about about flipping phones. Until the next time, we look forward to you listening to the show, and you have a great day. Thanks for listening. If you're not subscribed to the show, please do. It would mean the world to us. It helps us climb the rankings. Now, if you go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating, we'll automatically enter you into our contest where you get a chance to win an iPad or one-on-one coaching. This will go on for the first few months of the year, so we're going to be giving away iPads and one-on-one coaching as our way to say thank you for listening to the show. Now, you can visit us at BYOB Pep Talk, that's BYOBpeptalk.com, for further instructions on how to leave a rating, a 5-star rating with iTunes. So the biggest compliment you can pay us, or you can pay me, is by sharing the show with someone that you think that could benefit from it. So please do. We greatly appreciate that. If you have a question, please feel free to leave it for us, and we'll see if we can answer it on the show. In the meantime, we hope you have a great day.